Daughter's Journal. We're in Granada City, Nicaragua. And here we got ceramic towel as far as the eye can see. And once again, volcanoes in the distance. I saved the best for last. If volcanoes and waterfalls and surfing in Costa Rica wasn't enough, Granada City, Nicaragua. And it wasn't just the view, it was the town, the streets, the markets, the buildings, the shops, hotels, the open courtyards with swimming pools and places to eat, and the banana trees and palms towering up over. But it was the markets and the streets and the life that went on there that made this trip so great. I live in the woods, I live in the country, so this, for me, over the nature, was the highlight of the trip.
You could always try to ride it,
On the way to Granada City, past a lot of nurseries in the town of Catarina that had a great market. This was after a long border crossing coming up from Costa Rica. This was along Lake Granada. We went through Rivas, Messiah, that also had another great market. And then you couldn't tell where one town left off and another began. Granada City, this is all just short of Managua. But pottery always sinks in, whether it's the rooftops or under my feet where we had breakfast, the beans and rice, vegetables, bacon, which I usually don't eat, and the Spanish torte, but the cassava was on my plate every day this week. And it was pointed out that this truck was loading clay. But on a closer look to me, it looked sandy, but in the back of my head, since I was told it was clay, that's what it is. Visiting a volcano in a museum on the grounds, yeah, very old piece of pottery. And at the markets, it was there too, but I had blinders on. But somehow, slowly, it seemed to eventually sink in that something was happening here with the pottery.
Yeah, it's a little house. That's the reason why I bought it. That's not for any other reason.
The area is rich with nature and wildlife, but I live in the country. I live in the woods, so for me, the most enjoyable part of the trip was the towns and villages, the color, the life in the streets. And even the character of the different streets and neighborhoods. Schoolyard maybe, a play yard, or was this a park?
minutes we're going to have the chance to see the lookout. Here, there in front of you, we have the church of Santa Catarina. Here the people is Catholic, the mostly of the person, but also we have other religion.
Yeah, in Granada City we visited the churches, the museums, but it was the markets. Mercado Municipal, Parco Central, great places to eat, the Vigorón. We ate most of the local foods. But for me now, a hamburger is not all American if it doesn't have tomato and onion and avocado.
Oh yeah, God de
La siguiente 23 más cuadrada. Visítanos en la calle atravesada. Eva Centro, 1 cuadra y 10 horas al norte. Llámanos 2552, 2038, 2552, 2038.
Every these houses in this area, they have a beautiful courtyard.
And the carriage rides in Granada City, not just for the foreign tourists, but people down from Managua too. We visited a chocolate factory, a chocolate museum. This is a cacao producing region. This is where chocolate was invented, as far as we know. And this is where the pottery too finally sunk in, that it was something was happening here. Not only that, but images of chocolate making on the plates with the pre-Columbian influence to them. And this is where I should have picked a piece up. But the chocolate, with a grainy texture, not the smooth that we know, but still, and maybe hard to believe if you didn't try it, but the best, most unbelievably amazing chocolate I have ever had before or since. And the bowl, a triple bowl. I spent the past 2 years making the double bowls in my ceramic studio. Here the pottery, I think more probably a Mediterranean Spanish influence. We were also fortunate to be traveling with a lady from the States who was making a return visit to Granada and Nicaragua, having to leave in the 80s.
We have rainy season and summertime. Season on for summer and season on for winter.
Back in Costa Rica, near the end of the trip, this is a coffee producing part of the world, a great place to take a coffee tour. We caught up with Tio Leo, and look at his logo. We purchased some things from the store. We had him sign the bags of coffee, and we wanted a picture too. But he kept working at it to make sure we got it right. First taking off the glasses, then moving the tip jar. This guy is a marketer. Maintains a museum there, and this is where the pottery really began to sink in before it was too late and we left. Similar to what I do a little bit, similarities to Spanish pieces that I had researched last year. But then finally I took notice of the pieces using the more traditional methods of forming and firing of the region. And I thought simply made over a drape mold, but completely handmade, pinched and coiled. The images may be a little different than the pre-Columbian, but most of the methods and firing quite similar. especially when you got to these pieces. The bird and the dog. This is the one I brought home. And it looked a little crudely made around the head, but they thought that showed more the signs in the hands of the artist.
No, it was actually warm, but it was we had an unseasonably warm for that week we left. Actually, we had about 2 weeks.
The car wash, the little produce stand down at the end of the street, just when it's all starting to look familiar. It's time to go. Gracias. Costa Rica and Nicaragua. I would really love to stop back, but it's always good to get home. And be careful with the luggage. There's pottery in there.